Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. All right. Good morning. This is Jeff Johnson with the Local Leaders Podcast, and I'm proud to be here today with Umesh Patel. He is the owner and founder of the PAV Bhaji Hut. And Umesh, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, we are excited to get our podcast information out there, and just to let our viewers know, we are here to provide successful restaurateurs like Umesh with a platform to share his story, and to also share with us insights and ideas and advice, in general on how to make your restaurant successful by learning from how he has done it. And I'm going to open up the door here just a little bit and allow Umesh to just share a little bit about the Bhaji Hut. Go ahead.
So I don't know if you got a chance to look at my website, but the journey actually started, way back in 1969 when my family opened our doors for the first kind of small hole-in-the-wall kind of restaurant in a city called Ahmedabad in India. And we were super duper successful because we brought this place called PAV Bhaji from Mumbai, the state of Gujarat. So we were the first one, and we got a really good success. But then it didn't last much, like 20, 25 years, and we had to shut down. But I grew up watching my grandma, covering her face with a silk scarf and grinding the spices in a wooden mortar and pestle. And I was a foodie from the beginning also. So this project was in my back of mind, and I've been working like at least 10, 12 years for the concept and lots of other things, like just to get our tawa, which is like a big, massive, humongous iron pan, to get the NSF certification. So that alone took a year and a half, $40,000 just to get the NSF. So, and then, I decided to take not go fully with a restaurant. So I thought, let's go with the food truck. The reason, because this plate was originated in Mumbai, and majority of the people who are from Mumbai or other cities in India, they remember eating this plate of pav bhaji on a street, just right on the street. So I thought, I'm going to start giving the experience of them, just as if they are eating on a street. So I thought, let me just go with a food truck. But I, as you can probably see, everything I do I do differently. So I did not want to go with a traditional food truck, which people cannot actually make eye contact with the person, or it's really high. So I personally designed the food trailer with 3-side massive open plexiglass, and which you can see all over the pictures in social media also. So that it took quite some time. I mean, every square inch of that food trailer I designed, and we built in Oregon, because none of the builders in California, they were ready to build this. So I built that in Oregon. It took quite some time, 6-7 months, just to build, get the blueprint approved, and then launch. It took almost a year just for this whole process. Wow. And we launched January, first, second week, 2018. So it's been pretty successful 3.5 years. And I even did not anticipate this much of success. You can see initial pictures. We had so much crowd that our, we were actually on a Shell gas station in Matilda. They kicked us out because they couldn't handle the crowd. And then from there, we kind of tried a couple of other places. But again, the crowd was so much everywhere, they kick us out. And the place where we are right now on Lawrence, just right off 237 in Sunnyvale, it's been 3.5 years since there. And we were the first one. Now there are 6 more food trucks that just followed us. So naturally, when we had this kind of success, and my vision were from the beginning that I want to go across the US with 50 locations. So 50 number, many people ask me how you came up with 50 numbers. So it's basically 50 states, at least one location in each state. So that's my goal is. So we started with the restaurant. Again, it took so much time to build, and we, had lots of hiccups, lots of issues with the restaurant, the construction also. But finally, we launched last year, and unfortunately, it was just right in the midst of COVID.
Oh,
But
goodness.
we survived. Yeah, we survived the COVID part, and then now we are again, we are out of the woods and we are roaring again. So we started, last year. Actually, we started on a March 13th, to be precise, last year. And March 16th, we got the letter from health department, and we had to shut down for 2 months. And then again, we opened May 4th. And then almost a year, we were just doing the to-go with the delivery services. And dining started a couple of months ago. And we are doing, I would say it's a phenomenal success, the one we are seeing. And I would just, if someone asks about my business, I would say it's a one item empire. I mean, if I build empire, because it's just a one item. It's like an In-N-Out burger. It's just a one item, Jeff. If you come in my restaurant, you probably have come across the simplest menu. You don't need to decide anything because there is only one item, which like spicy or the regular. And it's 100% vegetarian. No chicken, no beef, no fish, no egg. And all our spices and everything we get from India just to give the authentic taste. So people kind of like, and every square inch of my restaurant also, from packaging to the presentation experience, I try to, this is kind of make me humble, but many people, they ask me who you compete with. So I kind of tell them, I compete with Chipotle because the way the Chipotle did, Steve Ellis and all those folks, when they did in Colorado, the way they presented the industrial theme, and then the simple idea with really, really big turnover. So this is my goal as well. I mean, if you step into my restaurant, you hardly feel like any Indian restaurant feeling with from custom furniture to the juice machine, which is made in New York. And so there are only two items. The food is the PAV Bhaji, and the juice, we have 100% cold pressed juice, which we are selling a lot right now because of the summer. And people kind of like it because we don't add anything, like no water, no sugar, nothing, just we press the juice. And food also, the packaging also, it's very, very 100% biodegradable, very expensive packaging. If you see our packaging also, I put lots of thought in each and everything we do, even the furniture, and then the whole process itself.
Well, that is amazing. I tell you what, I really, I've never had anyone on the show that's essentially had a single item menu. And in your case, I guess too. So that is definitely unique and exciting. And it makes me think of, really fine tuning your business model down to making sure that you're at absolute best in at least one thing. And if that one thing is all that you do, you're focused on it, you're able to really build your brand on that one item. Now, do you see yourself in the future expanding that menu?
So no, you will be surprised. I actually removed the item from menu, forget even expanding. So when we started in 2018, we used to have something called masala pav. It's like a burger, veggie burger with stuff inside and all. But the problem was because my food is considered in a fast food category, and even in that, QSR also has a different segment. So this is like a street food. The food has to come out within 180 seconds, at the most 300 seconds. If it doesn't come out, then it's considered seat and dine rather than just like a fast food and with a food truck. So the bottleneck at that time, initially when we started with the masala pav, it was taking at least 8 to 10 minutes just to make one masala. It was a la carte, everything we were making on our big pan, the tawa. And also it was taking really precious real estate space on my tawa. So we removed that item. Many people, they ask us that, if you could bring it back. But now the way the whole, my vision is I'm putting together all the puzzles, and what I want to do it in the future, I may not put that back.
Well, it sounds like you've got it figured out and you've got it down to a science, which is, That's really something that every restaurateur needs to do. And I see so many menus out there that are 3 or 4 pages long, so broad, so diverse. You think, food costs have got to be, off the charts, as well as waste. How do you manage that? And the simplest way to do that is to keep that menu simple. And I love that concept. And the whole authentic Indian street food, really speaks to people. I done a lot of work in the Hispanic community, and street tacos are the thing.
Yeah.
And my wife is one of those who loves street tacos. In fact, we had some just this past weekend. And whether it's a food truck or whether it's a restaurant, you love to see that authentic come out, whether it's Indian or Mexican or Spanish food, anything. We love authentics, and you guys are doing it. Now, tell me this: I'm sure you're still operating your food truck as well as the restaurant. Is that accurate?
Right.
Gotcha.
Yes. So food truck is in Sunnyvale. So our restaurant, the one we started last year in Fremont, and then 2 more restaurants are under construction. Sunnyvale restaurant also, its last phase, that's a franchise location. It's, I think, we are waiting for the final permit. So probably month, at the most month and a half. And Redwood Shore, which is in Redwood City, just across the street from Oracle headquarters. And then we are getting lots of positive leads from Seattle, Bellevue area, Arizona, Tempe, and Chandler area, and then East Coast, Texas. So it's just a matter of time. And because of the COVID, COVID hit us hard. Forget us, but like the whole industry, COVID hit really hard.
Yes,
and everything was everything just kind of went into slumber, and all the projects and all those things kind of paused for a long time, more than a year. So now I think we are slowly coming out of the woods. So we'll start those things. And as I said, it's just a one item. And now we learned something from the COVID that because right now both the locations, Sunnyvale restaurant and a Fremont, both are like over 2,000 square feet. So now we are reducing our footprint, going with just 1,000 square feet or smaller locations, because we don't need now the whole millennials, everything, they change now to the delivery services. Numbers speaks. No matter what we say, the new normal is going to be different than my generation grew up with, especially with the restaurant industry changes. So we are going with the smaller location. And the one thing I tell all my franchisees that, since the menu is so simple and we kind of nail down the whole process and everything, they can run actually in a passive with really mid-level or low-level investor also can jump in, unless, regardless, how much amount of effort they want to put.
Right. Into the business, because the amount of effort is going to equal the growth opportunity and the income opportunity, obviously. And that's a whole nother conversation about restaurant owners and the restaurant business, is that work-life balance can become a challenge because you work 18-hour days, 7 days a week.
Right.
But before I dig into there, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned the word franchise earlier. So, are you franchise, or is that your growth model going forward? You want to franchise to get in all 50 states?
Yes. So exactly. So we started giving. So we sold few franchisees in the Bay Area, and we are in a talk with other states, as I said, Seattle, Bellevue area, Arizona, and East Coast, and lots of other places. We are in a talk. So we'll see how it goes, and that's the growth path I'm taking right now. Because to open with the corporate locations and all, it's difficult also. At the same time, if you bring different unique talent, they may bring something on board which I may have kind of overlooked. And when you have more people, it's like there is one saying, either Chinese or Russian saying that, if you want to walk far, walk with people. If you want to just walk alone, then you can't go far. So that's the model I want to go with. And that's a very successful model. From McDonald's to Chick-fil-A to Subway. And another reason is, when you have, let's say, for example, you're in North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir.
So if, let's say, if I manage location, a corporate location, let's say in North Carolina, it's so difficult for me because I'm not local to that environment, not local to that community. So if I give someone over there who is actually local to the North Carolina, they can better manage than I do. I just go and so that's even advantage of being in that particular local market.
Right. Yeah, and I concur with you all the way on that, because it just in coordinating and working with people all across the country, it's difficult, especially when you're 3 or 4 hours apart. It's difficult on the communication side and the scheduling side, and plus you don't know the local folks. Now,
Exactly.
on the other side, to some of the company-owned models or brand models that we've talked to, I think their thoughts are control and process and consistency, and that it's easier under a company-owned situation. But I guess there's merits to both, and the biggest point I think for a small business person who's trying to really grow and wants to do it quickly, the franchise model is the most cost effective because that's a lot of capital. For you to try to put 50 stores, or 150 stores or restaurants out there all at one time. That's a lot of capital involved. So,
yeah. So other thing with the franchise, people don't realize that when you actually give franchise, you are creating lots of entrepreneurs, because right now, when we started getting the leads with my franchise consulting company, we had a lots of Indian IT engineers and all, and I'm very picky about who I give the franchise. So those people, they never had any business experience. So basically, you are actually creating these many entrepreneurs. If I manage, corporate-owned locations, then I may have zonal managers and all, but I'm not creating actually the entrepreneurs, which is the case with the franchise. And they know all the intricacies of the business, and eventually they also grow with my business. I mean, because I'm just getting a minor cut of the royalty, but they are the ones, they are actually succeeding, and so I'm actually creating 50 entrepreneurs. It's like, who wants to be a millionaire? That show.
Yeah, and actually that's a perfect link to the Local Leaders podcast, because our goal here is to help educate and train and motivate fellow entrepreneurs so that they can hopefully achieve the same levels of success in life and in business. But again, in life, that's important, because we gotta get that work-life balance in somehow for restaurateurs, because it's difficult. So how do you manage all this work that you're doing? How do you have some time for your family, or do you have time for your family, Umesh?
I'm going to tell you something. The restaurant industry is probably the worst industry in the U.S. You are like, firefighter or the cops.
Mm-hmm.
You are working 365 days. Even if you are, let's say, on a vacation, you can't even go vacation. Let's say I wanted to go from last couple of years to Hawaii, but always some issues come up. So you are in a worse industry. Basically, it's a 365 days. And in fact, our shop is, our motto is 365 days. We are open all Christmas. We are open New Year. We are open Thanksgiving. We are open like that. So it's a really, really difficult industry. The only way I'm focusing on this side, and I don't have to worry about home, because my wife, she takes care of my kids and, all those stuff, which goes lots of behind raising the 2 kids. I have my son, he's 10, and my daughter 7. And then, their school, I missed lots of their school meetings or so many other stuff.
Right.
So that sacrifice you have to make. Any business, I mean, initial phase, any business, if you're in, of course, restaurant is kind of an exception, because, you're working so hard every single day. But with God's grace, I have a really good team also, with good employees and all. But again, the family side, my wife, thanks to her, like, she's taking care of my kids and other stuff. So I don't have to worry about, all those tiny things. But yeah, it's really tough. Restaurant industry is tough. I mean, and nowadays, even the employee situation is getting so worse now because of, unemployment and all the COVID thing going right now. So it's tough. because you get last minute call. In fact, I just got a call before the meeting that one employee is not going to show up tomorrow. So like that, some employees not showing up weekend, and they call 10 minutes in advance that, okay, you know what, I'm calling in sick. So you are always in that situation.
Yes, yeah. Staffing has been an industry-wide problem for some time. And there's a lot of things going on out there. The talk over the last year outside of COVID, and everybody having to transition to that off-premises provision of food for their customers just to stay in business. Well, of course, you were set up with the food truck or food trailer to begin with. You were already in an off-premises mode, so I'm sure that helped in the transition to the restaurant. But the fact that those things are easing up is great, and people are coming back in and starting to dine inside. That's fantastic. We're able to do that over here in North Carolina, and in fact, we probably were a few weeks or maybe a month or so ahead of California in terms of opening up. I come from a small market, a small town market, and they seem to have a little more flexibility in the smaller towns as well. But if I went to one of the larger cities and tried to eat dinner, months ago, you couldn't do it. It was all takeout. That's been a real challenge. But so from a staffing point of view, how are you handling that, and how are you attracting people? Are you doing anything different, on your end?
So staffing, so for the hiring, we tried all the online resources like Craigslist, ZipRecruiter, and all. We didn't have a good success. The one we had most of the employees, it's word of mouth or the referral. So let's say one employee is working at our place, they referred someone else, and then that's how we got majority of the employees. But again, it's a very challenging, especially in this industry where the margins are very slim. I mean, if you compare with some other industry, the margins are very slim. So you cannot pay a little bit over the minimum wage at the most, and then they make overtime and double overtime and all. But it's not like, you can pay like $100 an hour or $50 an hour. So whatever the minimum, and in fact, California minimum wage is also really high. I mean, Sunnyvale, where I'm, it's almost $17 an hour. So it's challenging for the employee side also, at the same time on a employer side also, on a restaurant, to keep them on board, motivated with that kind of salary range. But we somehow managed to do it, keep most of the employees, they are with us from last 3 years or more. So some of the employees are since the beginning we have. And, it's good. The shift employees kind of come and go, but we tend to kind of, try to give them a best, like, free food, free logo T-shirts, and all other perks also. But again, if someone is starting the college, off to college, then they may leave. If someone is traveling or they're just changing to the other industry and all, which we lately seen a lot. It wasn't the case before COVID. Like pre-COVID, we didn't have that kind of issue with the employee situation, but right now it's difficult.
Yes, and I don't know that it's going to let up anytime soon. And I just I did a double take when you said 17 an hour. I thought California was 15 across the board, but you just educated me. So thank you for that.
Yeah, so Fremont, the city where I am, it's 15 over there. But the Sunnyvale, where I live, and my food truck it's 16.30, so something like 17. The starting point is 17. It's pretty high. I mean, if you put overtime and double overtime and everything, if you put, and if you it comes out more than $20 easily per hour. And then on an employer side, we have to pay Social Security, Medicare, workers' comp, and then all other insurance and all the expenses. So for us, that 17 would kind of stretch up to 25. So it's challenging, and especially when after the COVID, because of this inflation and all the price from packaging to produce has kind of skyrocketed. It's difficult. It's really difficult because your margins are, it's kind of getting, squeezed. I mean, you don't get that much of juice which you used to get in same amount. So now I saw this trend industry-wide, like everyone started raising their price, which unfortunately we have also had to do.
Uh, are you seeing, or have you seen with the price increases? Are you seeing much loss on from customer side? Are you losing customers because of that, or how's the public responding?
So we kind of, if someone asks about that recent pricing, so we tend to explain them a bit, and genuinely we explain them. For example, let us example I'm going to give you. One case of gloves, the nitrile gloves used to be $50-$60. During the COVID, it went above 300. Now it came back to 170 or something, which is significant. I mean, if you see that multi-fold increase, and this is just the one example, we are getting continuous letter from our packaging suppliers that they are doing the price increase. Average price increase is like 8 to 10%. Average. This is average, and produce also, and then our cheese and butter both we get from India. Even that had a significant increase in a price, and rent and everything is going. I mean up. And one thing which is killing the restaurant industry is the delivery service.
Yeah.
So during the COVID time, we still put a cap on our delivery services to charge only 15%. But now that cap has gone now. So we are paying 30%, which is 1/3 of our gross. And as I said, to begin with, the restaurant industry is really slim margin industry. If you just see the spectrum, 30-35% is your payroll, 30-35% is your food cost. So you're right, 60-70% is gone. Then you have a 8 to 10% is your rent, lease, then 5% packaging, 3% credit card processing. So after all that, like the miscellaneous expenses, then minimum food cost, the food waste, which is around 3 to 5. If you can nail it down, after with a good management, everything, you can come around 3%. So after all this, your margin is really, if you make 15-20%, I just salute someone. And I get lots of young entrepreneurs. They come and they say, you know what, we want to start something like you. And so I asked them the first question: do you want to do this for money? And so they said, yeah, you can make lots of money. So I said, you know what, you have a huge misconception. If you really want to make money, I jokingly said, go sell marijuana. That's a 600% margin industry. But the food industry, if you make even double digit in a percentage, I would, if someone says that, I make 20%, I have to salute that person, that, he's able to make 20% after all the expenses. So it's difficult, challenging, because we are squeezed from every side. The minimum wage going up, and then California, especially the rents are skyrocketing. The produce and everything is getting expensive. The inflation is hitting. Then delivery service commission, and that's the reason many restaurants they shut down during the COVID time. I mean, if you see the specialty bakeries and cafe, and there are a bunch of chains like Sweet Tomatoes and all. So many mom and pop restaurants, they actually shut down. They couldn't survive because doors were closed and they were still paying the rent. So, and now the moratorium is, once it's done in September, you will see lots of, and I'm a member of NRA, also the National Restaurant Association. So I get the news that around 300,000 restaurants were shut down permanently during the COVID. And that number you will see after the September when the moratorium is taken off. So it's difficult, challenging, but you got to do what you have to. You're passionate about something which you love from the bottom of your heart. You just keep going, and when the top is going, like the saying, when the going is tough, the top is going. So with that, keep in mind, and we'll see better days. There's a light at the end of the tunnel now. We see that now the volume is coming back, so that's a good thing, good sign.
Yes, it is, and we're certainly hopeful that that'll continue, and that our governmental leaders and everyone else involved that impact the industry will keep us in mind. Maybe a little more often than when they're making policy and making decisions, because it is a difficult industry. Margins have always been tight. And today it's even more and more difficult. But that speaks to one of your strategies, which is to downsize your floor space. if you go from 2,000 square feet to 1,000, you're theoretically cutting that cost in half. It may not quite be half, but
Exactly.
when it's all said and done. So that's a big piece, and you're adapting to the off premises demand that we've got today, which is so much larger. I don't know that, and I think there's a lot of talk in the industry about whether patrons will return to in-house dining, and of course there is some of it, but it's not back to the level that it once was. I know for my family and I, we do enjoy going out and eating on site when we can, but we also don't like to go home and cook. So very often, we take advantage of that takeout, and we order and we grab it and we take it home. So, I think the world has changed. Things have shifted, and I'm not sure they'll ever come back. And it sounds like you're well positioned in the future with your model and where you're going to be successful. So I salute you for that.
Thank you.
Hey, I was going to ask you the question about what advice you'd give to an aspiring entrepreneur, but I think you've already told us, and that is go sell something else. Right.
No, I mean, no, not that. So one thing because I was invited to one of the Santa Clara Summit, also Entrepreneur Summit and all. So many people, they look at the money and then they first go. So I tell each and every person that, do something which you love from the bottom of your heart. You always dream about doing something. And you can probably see that in a Shark Tank also. People start with something which they like or they love, and then they find the way to get success in that field, rather than look at which industry has a lot of money and go into that. And you kind of eventually lose the interest, or you burn out and then you leave. But if you love something from the bottom of your heart, then, regardless of all the trouble and everything, it's like your baby, like when, your kids are, right? You stay up night, you have to feed them up every 2 hours, and, you have lots of sleepless nights and everything. But you don't feel that, oh, you know what, this is bad decision. You never ever feel that because you love them, your kids. So the same strategy, because when your business in an early stage, you, believe it or not, but I'm telling you my own experience, 2018 initial days. So we used to park the food trailer in our commissary, which is in San Jose, and the food we sell is in a Sunnyvale. So those initial months, I hardly used to sleep 3-4 hours, the night. So to keep when I'm driving that's a 15,000 pound trailer with a Ford 250 truck. To keep myself kind of up on a 101 highway, I used to cross my tongue between the teeth so that I can stay up. Because, as I said, it was so challenging because I never worked in the restaurant industry. My background is in IT, so I was in a corporate world. This was every experience was a new, and it was so challenging. So I used to kind of while on a steering wheel, I was and I crossed my tongue to just stay up. But still I kept going because I love food. I was a very foodie from the beginning. But if I would have done this with some other industry, probably I would have give up. And I said, you know what? So this is the one advice I give to every entrepreneur, that, do something. If you are, let's say, not just the food industry, if you are good with something, let's say anything, I mean, I don't want to kind of take any industry name, but just start small with that, try the concept. And now there are lots of avenues that you can try the concept. And, if your product is good, and another thing I can tell that before launching the product from, for the mass market, kind of make sure that you do lots of trial and error, and you need to have a vision that, when you have to scale, when the point comes with a quality and a quantity, how are you going to do it? So, many people during the COVID time, they came up with some really nice ideas. You can probably see on those CNBC and all. But they don't know how they want to take it from level this to next level. You can do some business, you can make living out of it. But then if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, make sure before you actually launch, you have everything figured out, and do it properly. Do it once, rather than doing, let's just start and then we'll see. That approach, I personally don't prefer. Make sure, even if it gets late. In my case, I started this whole process 2014, 2015.
but I launched in 2018, so quite some time. I had, countless India visits and lots of things.
But I wanted to make sure that when I launch it, you know, I wouldn't say perfect, but something which I anticipated that I'm going to do it. The only thing I didn't anticipate was the success. The amount of publicity we got, it was 100% word of mouth. And thanks to all the customers, initial customers that did a really good favor to us. And the reviews also, you can see we are on almost 2,000 reviews on a Google for Sunnyvale food truck. Yeah, it's a number of reviews. I'm not talking about the rating and all. So, and particularly in a food industry, I can actually tell many entrepreneurs that now I see the trend, industry-wide trend. I mean, if you know something you really, really make good and you want to try it out, start with the delivery servicing. Just get the catering permit or talk to your local health department. Get the catering thing, start that concept with the delivery service. So if something goes south, you still, you're not like, I mean, let's say if you have invested lots of money in a restaurant or something, and if you, God forbid, if you cannot survive, you are basically out. I mean, because that is going to wipe you out. So start with something like a delivery service or the local farmers market and try your concept. If you think that 70% of the people like your concept, just go it. But kind of strategize everything, formation of the company and lots of things, and then do it. So that way you are secured, and lots of other small stuff which no one is going to teach you. You can't even find that some stuff. So you have to kind of talk to other entrepreneurs in your area. Go and meet them and ask them, that, okay, this is my concept. I want to do it to the next level. Some people, they give really good advice. And another thing right now, the emerging trend in a restaurant industry is ghost kitchen or the cloud kitchen. So that's also really nice way to try your concept rather than jumping into just go and start the restaurant. Because believe it or not, but the restaurant industry has the highest failure rate. Around 80% restaurants, they fail in first 3 to 5 years. This is the statistic. So you are basically going against all these odds. Like as I said, margins are slim, long hours, all days, staffing an issue. So that's why the best way to try the concept is with the ghost kitchen or, of course, the farmers market or the food truck. And if food truck is a big culture, and a part of the culture in California, especially like, Southern California, Northern California. I don't know about North Carolina, but this is my advice to every entrepreneur that, go try your concept, see if you can do it, invite lots of friends, family members, and ask them the honest opinion. Because something which can work at home may not be good for the commercial base when you start making it. And when you are feeding, hundreds of people, then there may be different. In fact, we also changed our formula multiple times because when we started off in 2018, it was a little bit on a spicy side. So then we realized it was authentic Mumbai, the taste which you can get in Mumbai, but somehow not everyone appreciated. So we kind of had to change multiple times the formula, and then we had one plate regular and one spicy. So certain things you learn in a field, but as I said, do your homework before you actually go and take big risks.
Yeah, I think that is tremendously good advice, Umesh. A lot of people, I think, just want to try something and they say, "Hey, I'm just going to go do it," and that just doesn't work these days. You got to really have a well thought out plan and strategy. And in fact, I was talking to one of our potential clients here in the near future, and they were talking about opening up a coffee shop or coffee shop / bakery. I said, "Hey, that's great. Where you got to put it somewhere where there are people, because first of all, they were looking at little small town environments. There's one coffee shop in town. There's 3,000 people in the whole city. That's probably not the place because there's just not enough traffic. So they start going to the bigger cities and looking at rent, and this is nothing to California, but in North Carolina, $6,000 rent to start up a coffee shop is a lot of money.
Wow.
And, we got to thinking, and I said, I think you need a food truck, or a food trailer, just because that way, like you said, you can test your concept. You got not a tremendous investment in it. If you, go buy a $20,000, $25,000 food truck to start out, you'll have $400, $500, $600 a month rent basically on your food truck payment. That's a darn lot better than the 6,000. So I think that's exactly what you're saying. You've really got to think it through. You've got to find creative solutions to overcome some of those initial obstacles. And you don't want to invest every penny you have just to give it a shot. It's the success rate is just too low. And you spoke of that very well. It's a great big challenge. And with all that, you wonder why anybody would want to be in the restaurant business, right? But
exactly.
Then we've got great people like yourself who just go and do it anyway and beat the odds and find success. And that's always exciting. And although we're getting close to where I need to let you get back to work, I did want to ask you one thing related, and I didn't give you a heads up on this, but it just kind of came to me as you were talking, and that is marketing. You've got a beautiful website. What else are you doing on the marketing side to really get yourself out there? You talked about word of mouth. You talked about referrals. A lot of that's organic, type of marketing. Where would you recommend people invest their funds if they're starting up and are trying to grow? Where would you put it from a marketing perspective?
From my own experience, I can tell you one thing there. If you are starting a business, do not pay like a single penny on all those click marketing and all. It's kind of just random thing, and it did not work for majority of the people. I'm telling you, the best way to market your business is have your happy and satisfied customers spread the word. That is way better than, if you pay lots of money on Facebook or the Google per click program, it's not going to be the targeted. Maybe people kind of looking around and click on that rather than give that kind of incentive to the people who are, coming to your business. And if they're happy and satisfied, they're going to tell at least 5 people and approach every initial customers. And if you could please write a review, or if you could spread the words in a community. And you won't believe this, all our big corporate catering from Google to Amazon Lab 126, Cisco, and lots of others, we got purely on a word of mouth. Initial days, I did not spend a single penny. Then when we decided to jump into the franchise world, then we started spending some money on a marketing and all. But in my own opinion, because in a restaurant industry, it's a 3 to 5 mile radius business basically, unless you are in Alabama or other places where people drive really far. But in city area, like urban settings, so in a 3 to 5 mile radius, like once you start the business, talk to each and every customer, regardless of how much money they are spending. Just pay personal attention. Just explain the story, explain how you came into this, and just bond with the customers. Initial customers are your basically foundation. You are building the whole business on them, and make them happy no matter what. You won't believe this. When I launched in I think it was 18th January or 20th January weekend. That whole weekend I was actually giving completely free food. You won't believe this. So 2 days, that was a weekend, completely. Whoever shows up on our food truck on Matilda, it was completely free. Some people were really nice. They came and they said, I want to pay you. So I said, instead of paying me, just spread the word. And people started putting in their WhatsApp groups and Snapchat and all. And that, took us really, really far. It was unbelievable success initial days. People were just telling each other, and I was also talking to each and every customer who stopped by. They may remember me also initial days that I was there. I was talking to the customer. I had a really good team also that time, and I was there to take care of them. The initial time, the wait was long, really. There was so much crowd. Yeah. So I wouldn't. I may be thinking traditionally or the way, but I wouldn't put a single penny on a marketing. Yeah, I mean, the LED lights and all those things is fine, but actual, sending the flyers or the per click social media money, don't do that. Rather, I would say invest in the customer and a product, and it's going to go far than putting that immediate gratification of like, let's just I reach bigger market. Then this is my own experience. That and give the samples. Another thing is in my restaurant, like we have a cold pressed juice. So for the juice, I give the customer sample. Even for the food also, if they want to buy, then it's okay. But if they don't want to buy, even that's okay. But I want to give them a no pressure, like just try it out. I mean, you may not like. I mean, it's not necessary that every person would stop by that they will like my food, but just I'm giving them a sample and say, try this one. So before they are spending like 10, 15 or $20, I want to kind of make them comfortable that, you like this food before, rather than just spend and then they don't like and just throw it away the plate. So then I decided, give the sample. So I give every person the sample, try this juice, try this, and they also really appreciate that, the other side, the owner is, trying to kind of make sure that you are comfortable spending the, the amount. If you like, then you can go and order. Otherwise, that's okay. I mean, I said, I want to make sure that you know what you're eating.
Yeah, well, I think that's great advice, actually. Food, sampling foods, and you think of Sam's Club and places like that. They figured out if you give people little bites, they're going to end up going over to the counter and purchasing.
Exactly.
That's great advice. It feels costly maybe at the moment that you're doing it, but as you said, it does bring in the customers and it pleases the ones that are there, and focusing on the customers. Each and every individual is critical too, and you've got to be there to do that, or at least have the staff that's trained and ready to go. So, well, it's exciting everything that you're doing, Umesh. It's it's really amazing, and I look forward to seeing your brand spread across the U.S.
Absolutely.
I'm over here on the other. North Carolina. Yeah, I'm on the other coast.
One day we'll be in North Carolina, Charlotte, or some other places maybe.
Well, I tell you what, I hope that we can get the word out on this end of the world and or the U.S. anyway, and maybe create some interested folks who might be interested in the franchise opportunity with you all, and I'm excited about what you're doing. Next time I'm in California, I'm going to track you down. I've got a beautiful daughter over there.
Please stop by. Yes.
She's in Los Angeles, so. We're over there a few times a year, but look forward to that opportunity to maybe meet you in person and get the opportunity to try this authentic Indian street food. It sounds wonderful. Your advice is really going to help a lot of business owners who are seeking to grow and seeking to find success and seeking to do to be able to handle this massive change we've had in the industry. Due to COVID, and it sounds like you're there and you're heading in the right direction. Any departing remarks that you want to make? Yeah. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, anyone out there, if I inspire even one soul, I would consider myself successful. So that's the reason in my restaurant, there is a whole wall I covered with the passion-based, the whole team, which you can see in the pictures also. So each and every quote is about the passion, like from Michael Phelps to many other people. So if you have something burning passion inside, then just go for it. Everything will, put this together and you'll find a way to do it, but just do it. I mean, just it will the business will itself will teach you a lot of things. The leadership skills it will develop in you, and at one point, after a certain number of years, you'll think that what, when you look back, and then you think, yeah, whatever I did was a major decision, but it was good that I did that, rather than regretting at the end of the life that I would have done this, I should have done that, but I missed that chance. And one thing I'm going to tell you that you're taking interview about the success, but you will not believe
everything I did before, I actually failed. Failure became my second nature. I failed multiple other businesses, also multiple things in my life. So much failure that, if I get a success, I would be like surprised. Oh, I got success. So this is the first success I got. But people don't know that I failed so many times, so many business, the organic product business, the baby product, and lots of other things before this. It was another venture also in a food. I failed, and but I kept going. You should not stop, because the synonym for the success is a completion. Unless you complete things, you cannot be successful. If you give up in between, then you don't know what you actually lost. You were supposed to get that kind of success. So keep going. Just don't think twice. Put your 100% or 1,000%. You may have to reduce the hours to sleep, but just keep going. One day, you realize, there's a saying that do your best and God will do the rest. So just do your best. Don't I tell people, and don't kind of, slack off, or just do your best and do it from the bottom of your heart, like, something which you love, and things will automatically, turn into your favor.
Well, thank you very much for that. I love it. Do your best.
Thank you.
Let God do the rest. We thank you. This is Umesh Patel with the PAV Bhaji Hut, who has spent his time with us today to try to help us all do better. And we appreciate your time, sir. Thank you for being on. And
thank you so much, Jeff. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. We appreciate you, and to all our listeners. We hope you'll tune back in. We plan to be launching or putting out 2 new episodes a week beginning August 2nd. Okay. So we look forward to having you guys continue to join us. Thank you again, Umesh, and thank you all to our listeners. This is Jeff Johnson with Local Leaders Podcast, signing out.